All right, welcome, guys. This is the Indian Compass podcast. This is the first ever podcast by Indian Compass. I am your host, Tom Trooper. As many of you might know, it's inspired by Star Wars. I am joined today by two guests, Legolas. I think Legolas can give a brief introduction about where he got his inspiration for his name.
Legolas, Legolas is a character from the Lord of the Rings, and it's actually I think it's one of the best ever movies made. Yeah,
Legolas was the guy with the pointy ears, right?
yeah, with the point ears, he's an elf in the Tolkien verse, and he's good at shooting arrows.
All right, and the other guest we have today is CC1.
Yeah,
I think CC1 needs no explanation. Unknown gunman, been in the center of a lot of diplomatic spats recently. So yeah, it's a star-studded lineup today, and today's discussion is going to be on the historic re-election of Donald Trump into the White House. Now, of course, we've seen the meltdown videos. We've seen the teenagers, the women having complete meltdown on camera. Western press having a meltdown, American media having a meltdown. So let's have a look at some of these meltdown videos,
yeah.
uh, and let's break them apart.
Trump was so racist through the whole campaign, so unprofessional, so chaotic, so sexist, so divisive, and he still dominated. That's white privilege like a MF.
Well,
And
see, this is the issue with American left or with Democrats. They immediately jump on the racist bandwagon and this bandwagon, white supremacy. But the point is, it's such a dishonest analysis where it's actually been a complete. I would say men across ethnicities have flocked onto the Trump campaign this time, and him appealing to the male voters, going on these podcasts, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn. I think that actually did most of the appeal to the male voters. So it's not really a white clash, as they like to call it, or white men deciding the elections, because white men alone cannot decide an American election. That's just how it's
yeah,
set up.
Right, right.
and check this one out. America is racist and it's sexist, but it's especially racist plus sexist. That's it. That's the tweet. Like what's so great about this tweet? And it's got like more than 500 retweets.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then you have, if you voted Trump, you might be one of three: a misogynist, a racist, or simply just an idiot. Okay.
That's incredible. I mean, I think Trump has gone on record to state that he is categorically against a nationwide ban on abortion, that he would leave it up to the states and to the wisdom of the people of these states because of how unique their federal system is.
I
So
think I
again,
think these
yeah,
guys they should be called out for canceling democracy itself. I mean, if you don't trust your own voters and you
hmm
call them names just because your favorite party doesn't win or your candidate doesn't win, it's just simply anti-democratic behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. I mean, yeah, yeah,
So
Legolas.
I actually came across this video. There was an interview given by a guy from the Harris campaign. So he said that Joe Biden should actually resign from the US presidency so that Kamala Harris can become the US president, so that she can become the first ever uh, female president of the US of color. So if that actually happens, that would be a huge snub to the choice of the US voters.
Right, right.
So we
In fact, I
see,
had read something very interesting that adds on to what you just said, Legolas, that Biden actually kind of sabotaged Kamala Harris's campaign. That
Really?
this is of course a conspiracy. Yeah, this is just a theory I've read online that they wanted to have primary debates. You know, they have this system where within a party, all the main presidential candidates they debate, and then there's one
Right.
leader who's decided that they will be the main presidential candidate.
Right.
So they wanted to
Yes.
have this entire process, and they wanted Biden to bow out of the elections much earlier, so that they could have, set up Kamala as a more competent and credible candidate. But he kind of screwed that up, and because he right after he bowed out, he endorsed Kamala Harris. So they were forced to
Wow.
stick with Kamala Harris. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there is some similarity with what happens with the leftists and liberals
In India.
in India, right? So you see
Yeah.
celebrities canceling voters, the mandate itself, just because their party has, been made to, it's been humbled to the ground.
And
Correct,
then they
correct. I mean,
call the
yeah,
other side fascist, and then they call the other side fascist or undemocratic.
uh,
That's just
exactly. All while
crazy.
undermining the process, blaming
yeah,
voters, shaming
Yeah,
voters for making
yeah,
the wrong
Sh-
choice, apparently.
yeah. And
exactly.
then the celebrities also, like how you have celebrities here endorsing, simping for people. There also you have people like Tom Hanks, I think even Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo, I remember him during the 2016 campaign. He was
Yeah,
openly campaigning against Donald Trump.
yeah.
Yep,
And then
yep.
recently I saw videos where, I mean, there was a superb video made by some, I saw it on Twitter. So it had compiled how, I mean, it's called the chai, you can call it the chai wala moment of Trump. Uh, so
The
you have,
McDonald's one.
yeah, the Donald's. Let me see if I have it. So
Okay.
it's got Donald Trump announcing his candidacy, and then everybody saying that, just making a joke out of him, saying that he'll never become president, he'll never become president. It's
Oh
like,
yeah,
wait,
that's an epic compilation
yeah,
where
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it ends with
Like,
him finally becoming president
yeah,
yeah.
2016, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
So what CC1 said about the Trump's chaiwala moment. So Trump, whenever they said that, okay, so the Democratic Party, they were all saying that Trump supporters are all garbage, white people are garbage. So what Trump did was he actually drove a garbage truck. He owned
Yep,
that
yep, I saw
insult.
that.
I mean,
Exactly,
that
exactly.
that guy knows how to do some campaign.
Yeah, he was in touch with the other his main voters also. He worked at McDonald's for
McDonald's, yeah.
uh, a few hours, and yeah, he's got that vibe, I guess.
Yeah, I think someone recently complimented him that he has that knack for being a stand-up comedian. He knows when to say the right thing and when
Right.
to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of clicks. But I think by and large, guys, I mean, we are not bothered with this neurotic, hyper emotional meltdown in the West and what his domestic US policy will, right? We don't really care much about their
Yeah,
domestic
yeah.
True.
politics.
No
True.
What
foreign
really matters
intervention.
for us is
Yeah.
how will it impact Indo-US ties. So what do you guys think about that?
I think I think we'll have to look back at Trump's first presidential term to see if we can uh, predict in a way how the second term will go. And in the first term, I think India's ties with the US were at a peak. Indo-US
Absolutely.
relations were at a peak,
Yeah.
and so I think India has a lot of opportunities with Trump coming in as the next president, and but there will also be lots of challenges, in my opinion.
No, of course, you're right about that, Legolas. But what you said about the first term, I just want to add on to that with I think the peak of Indo-US ties is what you said. I think that's absolutely true, and I think that was kind of reflected in these two historic events. The Howdy Modi, I think that was in Texas, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah, yeah, it was.
and Namaste Trump was, I think, in Gujarat. So the kind of reception both these leaders got in their respective foreign countries was amazing. And his first, expanding more upon his first term, his support for unequivocal support for India's right to respond during Balakot. And I'll even go on to say that we could not have executed something like Article 3, abrogating Article 370 if we had, let's
Mm,
say, a Biden-Harris or a typical Democrat
true.
establishment in the US back then.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was easier to take them into confidence. I mean, take the Trump administration into confidence. Of course, I think given the suaveness that Jai Shankar and his team has, I think they would be able to, uh, at least convince them, if not uh,
Right,
make them very uh, not anti-India stance, please.
right, right.
Okay.
But just adding on to what Legolas said, that there will be certain negative. So we have to be objective, right? There will certainly be certain negative implications of Trump. I mean, 2016 to 2020, we witnessed, of course, lesser foreign intervention, lesser regime change, but heightened trade wars and tariff wars. And I think this time he's made it clear that that's going to be on the table again. Tariff diplomacy is going to be on the table. So I think last term they did impose certain tariffs on I think Harley Davidson was one of the products.
Yeah,
And
Trump badly wanted to
in
push
fact,
it.
we didn't hold back. We also imposed retaliatory tariffs on certain goods. So just to explain to viewers how what tariffs really are. So tariffs don't really impact another country. They're not a direct attack on another country's economy. They land up targeting the consumer of that economy. So if you're buying something for 100 rupees today from the US, when US imposes tariffs on those particular things, or India imposes retaliatory tariffs on those particular things, then that thing's going to probably become more expensive to import, which drives up the cost of the final price of that product. So, I mean, you can probably argue that there can be a silver lining in a dark cloud. If American products become more expensive for Indians, it might incentivize. We can only hope, right? We can only hope it
Right.
might incentivize. Sorry.
No, I said you're right.
Yeah, so it might incentivize stuff like Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, and get domestic producers to make more competitively priced goods. But that's only a hope.
Yeah. That is in sync with what PM Modi is trying to achieve. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, that I think we will have to cash in on that.
Right. And I think
Um,
one might also argue that can US afford to have a trade war with both India and China, two of the largest populated countries in the world? I think not.
yeah,
I mean, that would be an expensive affair. So it's safe to say, I guess, that China would still be the main target.
true. And under PM Modi, there's been a lot of FDI coming into India from the US. So
And I think
Right.
it's good to
if
be,
there is a trade war, um, the chances of a trade war happening seem like a bit unlikely to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
no, but I think I'll agree with, say, Trump, uh, hiking up tariffs. So in my opinion, every government in the world, if they are more nationalistic, somewhere each nationalistic government will see what is in the best interest of them. So it will be easier to arrive at a common ground if there are two nationalistic governments. Say, I mean, Trump is entitled to make in his country and grow, create jobs for his citizens as much as India does. So somewhere I
True. I
think,
think, yeah, this is exactly what I tell friends and family. That from an Indian's perspective, what do I care about? So, what have we seen happen in the last 4 years? We've seen US intervention in our neighborhood in Bangladesh, where
Right.
a pro-India leader was essentially removed from power, forced out of power, and a puppet pro-US government was set up there. Um,
Correct.
we've seen a lot of issues, right? We have a proxy war, essentially a proxy war going on with the US under the Biden-Harris administration, with US firing from Canada's shoulders. I mean, Trump is not your typical US politician. I guess even establishment mainstream Republicans would also use regime change and foreign intervention. So we're going to be facing external problems more than internal problems. And the benefit of that is, as an Indian, firstly, dealing with external problems is easier because you can see them, they're more tangible, right? It'll be trade wars, it'll be military buildups, there'll be tensions between countries, right? As opposed to internal ones. Now, as an Indian, I'm terrified of internal ones because we
yeah,
have so many fault lines to be exploited. We have caste, we have class, we have 90% versus 10%, we have North versus South, we have religion, and we've seen it being exploited by both our primary opposition party with the help of certain elements outside the country. So I guess it'd be safe to say that all those designs that people have about regime change in India, whoever they might be, these countries might be, the Soros toolkit gang.
correct,
So I
correct.
think that's taken a huge setback with Trump's election. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy who does not believe in these covert attempts at influencing other countries' affairs and internal affairs.
Correct. In that light, what do you think will happen with Bangladesh now? I mean,
So, in terms of foreign policy and geopolitics, what do you guys think? How is this going to shake things up? Because he is a unpredictable guy.
but I think
Yeah.
Trump, I would say, is predictable in a sense. I mean, I think he'll put an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. I mean, since he has an equation with Putin, he'll be at least able to meet face to face and see achieve a middle ground and put an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. And he's more wary of China. I think he'll keep people. I mean, China is he sees more as a threat. So
Right.
I think
So I
Russia.
agree partially with what CC1 is saying about Russia-Ukraine war, but recent reports have emerged where Zelensky has stated that he's ready to keep engaging Russia even without US support. So what CC1 is right about is that Trump is a China hawk. He's not a Russia hawk. He's
Right.
not like the typical American establishment that believes that Russia is the main threat to US. It's not. It's China. China is the bigger threat to US hegemony. So he'll definitely pull out some of the excessive funding, the arms, the weapons going into Ukraine. Will definitely make Russia's work much easier. But whether he can end the war or not actually depends on Zelensky's willingness to give up territory. That's pretty much it. But yeah, CC1, you're right about this. There's this strategic realignment under Trump. So I think the focus is going to return on Iran and China, and I think that's good for India.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think under Trump, the US will become more isolationist. It will retreat
Hmm.
and retreat into its own backyard and focus more on domestic policies over there. And its role as a security guarantor in the world will actually significantly decrease, and
True.
that will probably lead to the world becoming a multipolar world, and we are already seeing that. Like
Right, right.
one country or one bloc cannot dominate the global power play anymore, and that's where an opportunity for India lies, in especially in the Asia, especially in the Asia Pacific or the Indo Pacific, as it's more commonly known now.
Yeah, interesting that you bring that up. I was just going to mention this, that why it's so good for India that Trump focuses on China and Iran. China, so the disengagement with China recently is starting to make more and more sense. I think the
Yeah.
Chinese also anticipated Trump coming to power. So he's going to keep China busy on their eastern front, which is South China
Hmm.
Sea, Taiwan. And I
Hmm.
don't think they can afford to have two active fronts, one with Taiwan and South China Sea and one with India and Arunachal,
Right.
Ladakh. So I don't think now China's kind of forced to actually go through with their disengagement and not
Yeah.
backstab us by again activating that front.
Right. Right.
I think probably
The
they saw this coming.
Yeah, they definitely saw this coming, and I guess the other is you guys remember IMEC?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah.
got
The
shelved
India
after
Middle
that
East
October 7th
Europe
attack. Yeah.
Economic Corridor.
Yeah, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. So, interestingly enough, as soon as this was announced, October 7th happened, right?
Yeah.
October 7th,
Yeah.
2023. And it was immediately shelved. Why? Because I think the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, if you see the map here, it passes through these troubled regions. And these regions are right now, they're essentially a war zone with Israel fighting Iran and Iran backed Houthis in Yemen and Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I guess IMEC needs stability in the Middle East to be a reality. And do you guys recall the Abraham Accords from from Trump's first term?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
He's
yeah.
been given a Nobel Prize for that.
Right, right.
Yeah. So there was some normalization of ties between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and one other country, I think,
Probably UAE. It must be one
UAE.
of the other Arab countries, yeah.
Right.
Maybe Jordan as well, because IMEC does pass through there. So essentially, I
Right.
think it was kind of put on hold. Abraham Accord was the highlight of his first term, where he brought upon a historic normalization of ties between Israel and the Arab world, the non-Shia world, so to say. But that was kind of put
Mhm.
on hold after the new administration came in, especially after the October 7th attacks. So hopefully
Yeah.
he gets back on work with the Abraham Accords. And if that works out, then IMEC can finally become a reality. So that's a big strategic win for India, if you think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
given that,
Absolutely.
even China, I mean, Trump is a China hawk, so he'll try to use IMEC as a check towards China's BRA. So
And the CPEC, the
CPEC,
larger,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that, you know,
And and India is also developing Andaman and Nicobar Islands, right? I think even that
Yeah.
will.
That's going to be, oh, he's going to revive Quad, 100%.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to revive Quad.
what do you mean revive
That's
code? I mean,
been,
it's already in place, right? I mean,
it's been dead for the last 4 5 years. There's not much that's happened on that front.
okay.
Russia has been the main priority
I
for
think,
this last government.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Russia-Ukraine war shifted the focus away from Quad.
Oh, by the way, have you guys seen the new I think it's the new NSA, the National Security Advisor. Have you read about this guy? Mike Waltz.
Mike was, yeah, I've seen tweets, saying that he's pro-India and
What exactly did he do? Why is he considered pro-India? As a nuclear power with more than 1 million troops, a growing navy, a top-tier space program, and a proven history of economic and military cooperation with the US, India would make a strong ally. It would enable US to form a real deterrent to potential threats from in Afghanistan as well as to counter China. Okay, so it's
Wow.
mainly the China thing.
and
Yeah.
he's also, when Modi went to US last, I
Mhm.
mean, it was the second visit to the US. So he called it as the most important partnership for the US in the 21st century.
Wow. Oh, so this guy belongs to the India caucus.
Okay.
Yeah, he belongs to the India caucus, and he was the one who he was pushing PM Modi to address the US Congress. So yeah, clearly this guy is at least leans pro-India, if not completely pro-India.
Yeah.
So Trump has made some of these major announcements, huh? What else has he announced?
Uh,
Vivek
he
He's announced
Ramaswamy,
Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah, he will co-lead the Department of Government Efficiency in the US government. Basically,
with
they'll
Elon Musk.
with Elon Musk, and they plan on slashing the American bureaucracy, slashing wastage. I mean, what they call wastage. Uh,
So
it's a pretty big
Department
deal.
of Government Efficiency. That's
Yeah,
literally Doge.
Doge. Yes.
Isn't that like Elon's crypto?
Yeah,
Yeah,
who would have
Dogecoin.
thought that
Oh, wow, man,
meme
this
dog,
is
would
insane. This is
become the face
insane.
of a government department, US government department?
So this is like we're living in a meme world, man. I can't believe it's actually called Doge.
Yeah,
This is insane.
crazy times. Yeah, but I think that's the way uh, Elon Musk era has in store
Hmm.
for us, I guess. I think I mean,
Interesting
even in
times
India,
ahead.
we should become more cooler. Our government departments should become more cooler to take
I
inspiration.
think I've read a lot about this on Twitter recently, but to be very fair to our government, I think the way they made everything digitalized, they made all these welfare schemes digital. They kind of did achieve in cutting down corruption, eliminating the middleman and whatnot. So it would be kind of naive for us to say that Modi should follow Trump or something. It's more like Trump following Modi. You remember
Ah,
Yeah.
Modi's minimal government, maximum governance
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
in
same.
2014?
I mean, a similar catchphrase is there in Trump's uh, that 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 notice that he had released, that statement. It's there.
Uh-huh.
I think smaller government, more efficiency, which is exactly what Modi said 10 years ago.
Minimal government,
Yeah.
maximum governance.
Maximum
Yeah.
governance. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. One
I
more thing that's
actually
yeah.
Sorry. So I actually remember there was this interview of Sanjeev Sanyal. He is in the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, right? So he was saying that even to close down a business, it takes any in India, it takes anywhere up to 6 months to a year, or
Wow.
it takes a pretty long. It used to take a pretty long time earlier, but then
Mhm.
what the Modi government has done is that they've digitalized the process and made it more efficient, so that it takes a month or maximum 2 months.
Hmm. I think
Oh, okay.
IBC, insolvency, bankruptcy could all help
Yeah.
minimize.
Definitely, definitely. By the way, have you guys noticed that Indian Americans, Hindu Americans are suddenly like a very important,
Yeah, I think
they're
they've,
very important players.
In
yeah,
the
yeah.
U.S. domestic
Yeah,
politics. Yeah.
yeah.
Usually,
Vivek Ramaswamy, um,
I think the
and then there's
Indo-American
Tulsi Gabbard.
population, I mean, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
so there's Vivek Ramaswamy, and then there's Tulsi Gabbard. She's a Hindu American,
Mhm.
uh, and even she had quite a huge role in the Trump campaign, I think. Uh, and
That's what's fascinating, that despite being
yeah,
such a pretty good percentage of the population, I won't say a very large percentage, but a very influential section
true,
of American society, high
right.
earners, law-abiding citizens, they were kind of missing from the American political context. And with this election,
True.
you've seen many of them almost becoming key campaigners for Trump, like Vivek Ramaswamy. There was this guy who was being considered for CIA post. He
Ash
didn't get
Patel,
it.
yeah. Cash
Kash
Kash
Patel.
Patel,
Patel.
exactly.
Yeah.
right? And I think this guy is also a Hindu American, but his family's from, I think, Uganda, where there was that anti-Gujarati sentiment
Oh, under Idi Amin.
under Idi Amin. So I think he is a political asylum seeker of sorts. Like he's actually run away from a genocidal dictatorship. He's made
Wow.
his, yeah, it's a pretty impressive story. But unfortunately, he got overlooked. But I still think that
Mm.
with Hindus and Indians becoming more active in American politics, somewhere behind the curtains down the line, we can only hope that it impacts, subtly, of course, hopefully impacts America's approach towards India, our sensibilities, our unique culture and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think the population, the Hindu American population itself, they've, I think they've had a role to play, in tilting the election towards Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's becoming clearer who's the better option for Indians and Hindus. Do you guys know about this bill, SB 403?
Oh, yeah, yeah. That they
So this
wanted to
is a
bring the import caste into their country.
Yeah, I think so. California is a proper Democrat stronghold, and they
Mhm.
were planning on bringing this law, which essentially brings the same kind of caste-based reservation kind of thing into California. And I find that's crazy. I mean, that's got no place in America. Why are they importing it from here? Why, how it serves their interest? But again, it is inherently an anti-Hindu kind of approach towards things. So it's
Yeah.
becoming very clear to Indian Americans, to Hindu Americans, who is probably either the better choice or at least the lesser worst of two options
Right.
in US politics.
Correct.
So I think, guys, this was a very fruitful discussion with you guys. I really thank you guys for coming on board. Just to conclude to our viewers what we've discussed today. Well, yes, a Trump win is better for India than a Democrat win. Why? Because he is an isolationist. He does not believe in foreign intervention, regime change. India, with so many fault lines, should be worried about these kind of tactics that, our fault lines like caste, class, religion, North versus South, this, that. So we should be in support of a president who's not looking to interfere in our internal affairs, who's not trying to carve out new Bangladesh like situations in our neighborhood, and who's going to be increasingly anti China, keeping them busy on their Eastern front, hopefully normalizing the Middle East so that we can get the IMEC or the Indian Middle East Europe Economic Corridor back on the table. Of course, there might be some issues with Indians getting visas. There might be a few trade wars here and there, tariff diplomacy, but at least it's easier to deal than a George Soros toolkit. So
Yeah.
again, I would like to thank viewers. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the Indian Compass podcast. Thank you, guys. Thank you, CC1. Thank you, Legolas.
Thank you.
Thank you.